Hello, my name is Barton, and I am joined today by my co-host, Joey.
And together, we make Jarton.
And on today's episode, we will be discussing the relevance of Gatsby and the Gen Z. For our first point, we will listen to and debrief an interview we had with the beloved collegiate teacher,
Mr. Kimmel, as he discusses how Gen Z views their own American dreams.
So stay tuned while we pull this up and dissect it. What would you say, like, the average mindset of someone from the Gen Z would be?
Okay. The one thing, so my ideas, and remember, this is just me thinking.
Yeah.
I haven't done any research or science on this, but what I see is a increased negativity in the way they look at their own lives and opportunities. An increased amount of negativity towards not just America, but the world, but our society in general. They feel, it seems like they feel more comfortable criticizing than complimenting, and feel more comfortable criticizing their own condition compared to the condition of other people.
Do you think...
That is an interesting thought from Mr. Kimmel. But Barton, what do you think about yourself in the sense of, do you believe you criticize yourself more than compliment yourself, or criticize yourself more than you compliment others maybe?
Well, in this day and age, I believe there's a lot of criticism wherever you look. And myself personally, I try to stay positive, but with all the recent events, socially, politically, it has been difficult, I will say. And I for one, always like to try and do better. And so I'll criticize myself now and then, but not with the malicious intent, but more just so I know I can do better and I can be better. And personally, I believe that's what Mr. Kimmel's getting at here, where we're stuck in a generation that has been exposed to so much at such a young age that we're always improve ourselves.
That is a very good perspective, Barton, and I think I would have to agree. But personally, I think also that sometimes when I get beaten, I criticize myself instead of saying, wow, this person's really good at something. And I think that is also what Mr. Kimmel was trying to get at when he said we criticize ourselves rather than complimenting.
Yeah, and now let's take a look at Gatsby here. You see, this man, for 5 years straight, he pursued Daisy. That was his one dream. And it doesn't seem like he ever once stopped to think, hey, I'm not doing something right. He was always moving forward, just moving toward his goal.
Maybe complimenting himself almost too much in the belief that he could accomplish anything if he really set his mind to it.
And so I really am thinking at it like Gen Z and Gatsby here are two polar opposites. Whereas one is just super almost self-centered, focused on his own goal, and the other just completely, and according to Mr. Kimmel, lacks self-confidence.
Yes, I would say they are polar opposites in the regard of complimenting in comparison to criticism, but I would also say that they are similar in some other ways, like always having hope and never getting too down on yourself, which is, although we criticize ourselves, we never get so down on ourselves that we just completely give up on everything, like any dream ever.
Yes, I agree with that.
Now, let's see what Mr. Kimmel has to say about people from Gen Z following the American dream and trying to climb the economic and social ladder.
I think there is an increasing hopelessness that some people are getting, that they're just, you can't make it, that it is your condition to be here, and you are powerless to do your very best when I was younger, we were given this idea that, anybody can make it. And now, especially the ones on the margins, are saying you're disadvantaged, you're underprivileged,
So you think
and the system's stacked against you.
So, as Mr. Kimmel said in the interview, he believes that a majority of the people in Gen Z feel that the system is stacked up against them. So if, for say, you're born poor, you'll stay poor. And this is where I think that a majority of Gen Zers will benefit from reading The Great Gatsby, because as we've read, Jay Gatsby, he came from a very poor family in South Dakota, but through his hard work and the determination alone, he was able to climb the social ladder and go from a dirt poor worker to this extremely, extremely rich, just predominant figure in New York. Although he did have to go through some questionable methods to achieve this wealth, it still is the moral of this story is that Gatsby had a vision, he had a dream, and he never lost sight of this dream. Although it became delusional, the Gen Z can still benefit from this because it shows that when you pursue a dream, you're still pursuing something, and there's the chance that this dream will blossom and become true. But if you keep the negative mindset and you don't even start the dream, nothing can come from that.
Good point, Barton. And now, let's see what two other Gen Z individuals have to say about this new pessimism that Mr. Kimmel talks about.
Lucy, what do you think in this matter? Do you believe you're more optimistic than your parents or less optimistic than your parents?
I think as a whole generation, we are probably more pessimistic than our parents, just because we're a more informed generation. Like, we are more up to date on all the social issues going on and environmental issues, and it just feels like everything's a little bit more pressing than it was for our parents, just like time-wise. So I think we're probably more pessimistic.
So you believe that you're more pessimistic because reality is just more pessimistic?
Yes.
So an increase in knowledge has led to a decrease in your
Outlook on society.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I would say it's like a heightened awareness of society, but maybe a decrease in optimism.
Nice.
Interesting.
Thank you for your opinion.
Next up, Kate, do you believe you are more or less optimistic than your parents?
Well, I have a question for you all first. Would you like to know what it is?
Yes.
What is your definition, what is your outlook on the true meaning of optimism and pessimistic?
Well, personally, I believe an optimist is someone who always tries to look on the bright side of things, always looking for the positive, no matter the situation. Joey, do you want to grapple with this pessimistic?
Yes, I believe a pessimist is someone who would see their team winning a game as a negative thing because they did not play in said game, always looking on the down thing instead of being like, we won the game, let's go.
So after hearing your all's meanings, I feel like my parents are neither leaning more optimistic or pessimistic. They're a solid middle ground, but myself, I would classify myself as more optimistic than them in that regard, because I tend to always kind of think on the bright side and I'm try to stay hopeful, whereas they're just kind of neutral.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for your insight.
Thank you all for your insight.
Yeah, so you think that as we progress, that people now are starting to believe otherwise, that they can make it?
They're kind of stuck where they start.
Yeah, they can't make it.
Yeah.
And I'm believing, because there's no, when we say that the system's screwed up and that people, and it's stacked against certain people, there's no then, okay, what do we do to change this so it's not stacked against them? We just sort of stop there. And so if you if you say that and then you say that, it's really, really hard or impossible, the worst is to say it's impossible,
Yeah.
without giving any solutions, then yeah, I think they give up.
All right.
Well, up until now, we've been talking about mainly pessimistic views on Gen Z as a whole and their view on the American dream. But some research done by Education Next has shown otherwise. In fact, it shows that Gen Z is more optimistic than the previous generation of millennials in their American dream. 85% of Gen Z believe that they will either stay the same or climb the economic ladder in comparison to their parents. I find this research very interesting as it was done in a poll and shows the difference between what Gen Z may incidentally project about themselves to others and what they really believe about themselves.
Well, thank you for listening. This has been Jarton.
Tune in next week.